Hey, it's Regina here at Tarot in Time in Kent, Connecticut, and I am here to talk to you about the month of January using tarot and astrology for everyday living. You can see my surroundings have changed. I'm here in my reading room at our store in Kent, Connecticut. This is where we offer tarot readings, psychic readings, body work, all that kind of good stuff. It's a cute little room. And I used to record here if you are a long-term fan. And I have to tell you, I've had nothing but internet problems. I've been out of internet since Christmas Eve at my house, and I've been having camera problems and all sorts of problems. So here I am. I want to talk to you. My surroundings have changed, but the message is still here the same. I kind of was getting the message also that maybe the readings need to return here to the reading room that kind of has the look of me. So here we are. All right, let's jump into January. Now we left off, we were talking about the new year in the last video, and I'm just going to go over a little bit over the kick off to the new year, and then we'll go week by week for the month of January. So the chart for the new year, December 31st, 11:59 p.m. Happy New Year, by the way. We know the sun is in Capricorn, where it is every year, but it's also hanging out on one side of the 10-degree Capricorn sun. We have Venus at 9 degrees Capricorn. And then the other side, we have Mars in the exalted position in the sign of Capricorn. And then hanging out a little bit farther out is the planet Pluto, the planet of transformation and change. So the kickoff to the year, if you make a chart for the year, which I did here for Connecticut on New Year's Eve, all this energy lands in the fourth house, which is the house of the home, the house of the moon, the house of our subconscious mind, the house of our intuition and nurturing and feeling. And we call it a psychic house. So there's a lot of energy there, and there's a lot of value there with Venus, and there's a lot of action and motivation with Mars. To me, and I think you've heard me say this before, like I have a kitchen project that I'm looking to take on soon. And when I look at this chart, I'm like, wow, this is the year I'm going to get my kitchen done, because Mars is action and motivation. The fourth house would be the home. And to me, the kitchen is the most nurturing place in the home. And Pluto's there, and Pluto rules construction, rules destroying things, breaking things apart, and rebuilding, because that's what Pluto does. It's death and rebirth. So I'm thinking it's going to come out to be beautiful. Also Venus hanging out there. And it's something I've been waiting to do for a long time. So that feels very Capricorn-like to me. So for you, you may have some changes in how you nurture yourself. You may have changes in the home this year. There may be new homes for some of you. There may be construction for others. There may be just some enjoyment in the home. Okay. So now we know that the rising sign for the new year is Libra, a Venus ruled sign. So there's a lot of Venus energy here because the sun and Venus were almost at the same degree. And Libra is ruled by Venus. So the rising sign, the lens that we're going to see the world through, is the relationship sign of Libra. Now, Libra is about partnership, relationship. Libra's like peace and harmony. But remember, this is, whenever I say something rules one thing, it also rules the opposite. So there can be confrontation. There can be one side. It can be, Libra's the scales. It can get imbalanced. So keeping this in mind with Libra rising as a kickoff for the year. The moon will be in the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is an air sign. And Gemini is called the child mind of the zodiac because you're hearing this straight from a Gemini moon. We have like all these different ideas, and we can get really scattered, and we're air signs, so it can just kind of be all over the place. Well, that moon is hanging out in the 9th house, and that 9th house is owned by Sagittarius. So Sagittarius likes to do things big. It's ruled by Jupiter. So it's very easy to get scattered. It's very easy to get overstimulated. It's also a great time for travel. It's a great time for higher learning, to expand your knowledge, because Gemini has a thirst for knowledge. And the 9th house is a house of higher education, especially higher education in a spiritual way. All right. So great energy for the new year. You can see, Where is 9 degrees Gemini in your chart? Because that's where the moon is going to be in your chart for the new year. Where's 9 degrees Libra in your chart? That's where there's going to be a lot of accentuation there. Where's 10 degrees Capricorn? That's where the sun is hanging out and shining its light along with 3 other planets. So those are the places that you may feel more attention in the new year. Now, remembering that Pluto, remember that just changed signs recently, left the sign of Capricorn, entered Aquarius, where it'll be for, I think it's like 18 more years now. So that was a big shift because Pluto will never go back into Capricorn in our lifetime. That's a big deal. I think it is. And when we look at Neptune, right? Neptune, the planet, the great healer, the planet of illusion and delusion, it's getting ready to leave Pisces. This is the last month that it's going to be hanging out in the sign of Pisces in our whole life. It takes 164 years, I think, to go around the zodiac. So this is pivotal times. And whenever things get to either the end of degrees or the beginning of degrees, there's an intensity to it. Now, Neptune is going to be at the final degrees. We already are 29 degrees Pisces. Remember, Neptune also rules secrets and things coming up to the surface. And even though Neptune is associated with fog and disillusionment, the other side of Neptune is clarity and vision. Okay. So pay attention, see what's coming up. Even you can see it in the news, even what things are coming up and out. And Saturn's hanging out right next to Neptune, and Saturn's the authoritarian. Saturn is the disciplinarian. So there will be repercussions for these things, and at least we can hope that justice will be served. Saturn will finish up its time in Pisces this month, and it'll return there in about like 28, 29 years, but still it's a really big deal that these planets are all changing signs. Uranus is finishing up its time in Taurus. It's retrograded, so it moved back into Taurus, but it'll be back into Gemini soon. And so those are like the outer planets, that have the ones that move slower, the ones that affect the generations. They affect the planet as a whole. There's a lot of change happening, and that's interesting and unknown. And sometimes that can make us a little uneasy that we're going into unknown territory. But here we are. And I like to think that we chose to be on this planet at this time for a reason. That's how I feel. Okay, so let's see what else. I had a couple more things here I wanted to say. Okay, so there's no oppositions in the chart for the new year. So it's not easy to see other people's perspective, but there's a lot of Libra rising. So there is a lot about working with others. So even if that's not your style, maybe it's that maybe you hire someone to help you learn something, or, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into partnership with someone, but there's definitely going to be you needing to look at other people's opinions, other people's viewpoints. There's a lot of air in this chart for the new year. There's a grand air trine, really, when we look at the moon is in Gemini. The rising sign is Libra, that's an air sign, and Pluto is in Aquarius. So we have a grand air trine, which is considered a gift, but it can be a lot of air. So have to be careful not to get too scattered, especially if you're already a lot of air signs, okay, that being Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. So be honest with yourself. Now, remember, we're ending a 9-year cycle, 2025 in numerology. Add up all the digits, it equals the number 9. And we, now 2026 equals 1. So we're going into this fresh new cycle. So everything that was going on from 2016 to 2025, that cycle is ending. Make sure that you give yourself some credit for all that's happened. And we are moving from the year of the snake, I think it was a wood snake, into the year of the fire horse in Chinese astrology. So it's not going to be dull. There's going to be a lot of room for growth, a lot of personal evolution, and a lot about achieving your goals. You just have to make sure you stay organized and focused, okay? Because it's easy to get scattered. All right. So Let's see. Then we talked about New Year's Eve, and that also has a stellium in Capricorn, 3 or more planets in the same sign. So that's really going to help us because that kind of keeps us grounded. So, by mid-January, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 planets in Capricorn, stellium in Capricorn, but we're starting to make our way into Aquarius season. So there'll be a lot more planets moving into air. So there could be a lot of new ideas. We definitely know there's a lot of new technology. We have moved into the age of Aquarius, Pluto moving into Aquarius. And so it's going to be interesting, especially once Saturn and Neptune make their way into the fire sign of Aries. Like I said, it will not be dull. All right. So I'd like to go week by week here and see what you need to know. All right, so let's start where we left off, which was New Year's Day. So New Year's Day, the moon will be in Gemini, kicking off the new year. And Mercury, the planet of communication, is going to enter the Earth sign of Capricorn at 4:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 1st. Mercury in Capricorn. So Mercury is Hermes in Greek mythology, and Hermes brought information from the gods to the people, and there was a lot of fast-moving energy. And Mercury rules the sign Gemini, and it rules the sign Virgo. So Mercury rules roadways and pathways, and it likes to move fast, and it likes to get all the information. And Capricorn is a sign of stability, of earth energy. It's the force to push forward winter. Capricorn is slow moving. Capricorn rules history and antiques. And so we've got a fast moving planet in a slow moving sign. Now, bureaucracy is your best friend. Strict rules, red tape, do things by the book. Okay. Make sure that you go through in detail and make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. And don't skip a step, because you're not going to be able to get away with it while Mercury is transiting through the Earth sign, the cardinal Earth sign of Capricorn, from January 1st to January 20th. Now, on January 2nd, the moon will continue in the sign of Gemini, the mutable air sign of Gemini, until 8:09 a.m. on Friday the 2nd. And this is the same day that Chiron is going to go direct. So the moon's going to move into its own sign of Cancer, watery, intuitive Cancer. And we're heading to the full Cancer moon. So moons, full moons are emotional to begin with. There's a lot of pull on us. Okay. And then you've got the moon in its own sign. And this is a highly, highly intuitive time with the moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, it doesn't peak until the next day on the 3rd. And I hope that you already got your moon water out. If not, just grab a jar. Mason jar works great. Fill it up with some water. Put it near a window so it can pick up the rays of the moon. You want to drink that water a couple days later. And just filling yourself with the energy of the moon, okay? I also think I like the idea of doing moon water because it keeps me in the cycle of the moon so I can understand. And if I'm feeling really emotional, I can remember, okay, this is what's going on right now, because it's too easy to lose track. Now, Chiron's going to go direct on Friday the 2nd. Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron, wherever Chiron is in your chart, and it looks like a little K with a circle underneath it, that's where your soul's wound is, okay? And it's really fun to look at because I'll tell you, mine couldn't be more spot on if you tried. And so Chiron it was kind of going back over. It was in the sign of Aries, and I was born with it in Aries. So this is like a really emotional time. I started to notice, I didn't even realize until I was planning this video, like all these things were coming up. I found some old pictures that I hadn't seen in a long time of my mom, who had died pretty young. And I felt a lot of like pain and anger and like a little bit of like, wow, she really got gypped dying at age 56. And that was starting to surface up, and I started to feel really emotional. And then I remembered, oh, look at this. We're heading to a Cancer full moon. Cancer's the mom. Chiron direct, it's in my sign. It's going over everything that's happened. It wants me to feel it and pull it up and out, right? So sometimes it feels really painful. And that doesn't mean that we're on the wrong path, okay? So kind of take into account what's been going on these past few weeks and what's coming up, what's showing you, because I think that it's showing you, like, sometimes I forget that there's that feeling underneath, right? Because when we lose people we love, sometimes we just have to pull ourselves together and carry on. And then later on, we end up having to deal with some of this grief. So don't be surprised if things start to come up to the surface, especially if you're born, if you're near my age. I'm 51. If you're near my age and you were also born with Chiron and Aries. And so this is going to be an intense time for you also, because this was happening in the sign of Aries. Okay. So be gentle to yourself and know that this Cancer full moon that happens, the cold moon here on Saturday, January 4th, Saturday, January 3rd, is a very comforting full moon. So I wrote down comfort from the cold. Cancer wants to nurture and make you feel good. And so allow this nurturing energy in, okay? It's a beautiful, beautiful, pretty smooth energy kind of time, although it can be very emotional. Trust your intuition. It's going to be very strong, very heightened during this period. And the moon will continue in the sign of Cancer on Sunday the 4th, and then it'll move into Leo, 8:44 a.m. So we'll be moving right into Leo, and Leo is almost like, let's get back to me kind of energy. So if you've been feeling very emotional for a few days, you may find that by Sunday you start to spark up again and feel like yourself. Okay. So let's pull a couple cards for this week, or this short version of this week, and see what the themes are that come up. I've got my new favorite deck, the Grimm Tales, and it's a little Halloweenish. I think it came out during Halloween, but for people like me who have a lot of planets in Scorpio, sometimes we don't mind those kind of decks all year round. I also have the Before Tarot, which is a really cool deck. There's a before and there's an after. They're based on the Rider-Waite pictures, 1 minute before, 1 minute after. They're really fun. Sometimes I use all three together, before, after, and the original version. All right, now I also have a Golden Art Nouveau tarot that wanted to be part of this. This is a great deck. Okay, so let's see what the theme cards are for the new year week, for the full moon week, and let's see what's going on. I apologize, I only have one camera working today, but wanted to get this video out to you. The Six of Swords is showing up. This is Sleeping Beauty, okay, in this Grimm fairy tales. And it's interesting. That's very interesting to me that just came up after I just shared the story of my mother with you, because, in some ways that does look like a coffin, and she looks like a woman who passed away young. But we know that this is Sleeping Beauty, and we know a kiss will awake her. So the Six of Swords, there's forward movement, kind of gives me the energy of hope. Okay, that spell could be broken there and she could come back to life. She also, I'm not sure why, but she looks pregnant in that version to me. So maybe some things that like you thought were going to go a certain way and then they've been kind of held up, they're going to come back. Okay, Six of Swords, forward movement, Six of Air. We've got more air here, which is the Knight of, is this the Knight? No, this is the Page. The Page of Swords. Okay, so he's young, he's picking up that sword, he's ready to give it to work with it. And so there's some form of expression here, a lot of air energy, and kind of getting up and moving forward. We also have the Ace of Cups here. The cup is running over with emotion. So to me, I think pages and aces are very much alike. And so we have a lot of new energy here. Ace of Cups usually has very sensual tones to it, but it's water. And we're talking about a water sign full moon, Cancer. So there's a lot here. I would honor your own mother during this period. I would be looking at things like some things. One of the themes I noticed in the month ahead was like you get a second chance on some things that maybe didn't work out last time, or some things you thought weren't going to work out for you, like they can come back this year or this month. There's a lot of heavy Mars energy, which is about action. And so it's a pretty spicy month. So whatever this kind of sleeper card here, I think it's going to be reactivated. Okay. Making sure that you also are taking enough time to get the rest that you need. And I don't know. For me, this was like the roughest holiday season. A lot of people were out sick. I overworked a lot. Lots of things like technical difficulties, just kind of frustrating energy. And so please know to take good care of yourself. This full moon is a really great time to do something really kind for yourself. Maybe a nice long bath or some acknowledgement of all that you do, caring for others also. All right, now we're going to move into the next week, which is the week of January 5th through January 11th. And we've got some beautiful energy this week, especially on the 6th. So make sure that you mark your calendar for the 6th, which is Tuesday. But we start off the week Monday the 5th, and the moon is in Leo. And, to me, Leo is such a fun sign. And there's a lot of play involved and a lot of visibility involved in joy. So enjoy Monday the 5th as we move into Tuesday the 6th. And the moon continues in Leo, but moves into Virgo right before lunch. So the good thing that happens on the 6th is that Venus goes Cazimi, Cazimi. And what it means is that Venus is sitting in the heart of the sun. So Venus and the sun are at the same sign, okay? Or at the same degree in the same sign. So they're right there together. And it's lovely to have Venus, and it's lovely to have the sun shining on Venus. All eyes are on you. It's a very visible time. And I would enjoy it. Really enjoy the 6th, January 6th. Okay, then we move into January 7th, where the moon continues in the sign of Virgo. So remember, Virgo is really detail orientated. It's the analyzer of the zodiac. So whenever the moon's in Virgo, it's like a great time to get things organized or to clean or just to like get into the details. Now on the 7th, Venus and Mars are going to be together. Venus and Mars conjunction. And Venus, we know about Venus. There's a lot about partnership. There's a lot about harmony. And Mars can be really competitive and wants to take action. And there can be a little bit, let's see, Mars is more powerful here because it's exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Venus is not. So there can be a little bit of like one-upmanship here. And the best advice is to, be like take the higher ground or be the better person and be the first to give a compliment. It's almost like two people trying to impress each other. And so instead of bragging about yourself, maybe you can give someone else a compliment, kind of break the ice and make the most of this Venus and Mars conjunction on the 7th. Now, there's a lot going on. I got a lot of paperwork here, boy. There's a lot going on this month. Now, on the 8th, the moon continues in Virgo. And then by evening, 7:06 p.m., it moves into Libra, harmonious, balance, sign of balance, justice, Venus sign in the evening of Thursday, the 8th. Friday the 9th continues in Libra, but then we have Mars go cazimi. So Mars is in the heart of the sun. And Mars, is sometimes Mars gets a bad rap because Mars is the god of war in Greek mythology. And sometimes Mars can push really hard for what it wants. And Mars in the sign of Capricorn, its most exalted position. And Mars will do whatever it takes to get what it wants. And when you have the sun shining, well, it's in the heart of it, it's going to magnify Mars's energy. So it can have dominance energy. So what are your motives in what you're doing? If your motives are pure, then it's going to work beautifully. But if your motives are not, it's very easy for you to be vilified, to look like, you don't have the best intentions. So make sure to bring your highest and best game to the forefront, bring nobility, be the hero, bring all that kind of stuff to the forefront. Take pride in your work and keep your motives pure, and you will do very well on Friday the 9th, especially in relationships, because the moon is there in that sign of Libra. So make sure you're on the up and up. Now, the weekend, the moon continues in Libra. It's going to be there until early morning on Sunday when it moves into Scorpio. And so we have the fourth quarter moon there. And on the 10th, Saturday the 10th, we have what's called a cardinal T-square. Now, cardinal T-square is when you have two planets across from each other. So you've got the sun and Mars together in the sign of Capricorn, and they're in opposition to the planet Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter's going to make everything bigger. So that's why you got to make sure your intentions are good, because Jupiter's going to make it big. And then the leg of the T is the moon in the cardinal sign of Libra. So this is a cardinal T-square. All these cardinal signs are the ones that push forward the season. They have a lot of oomph. They have a lot of power. This is also a last quarter moon. So whenever the last quarter moon comes around, it's like wrapping up the cycle. Okay. So wrapping things up, decisions need to be made. There might feel a sense of deadlines, and that might not feel good to you. It could, but it could feel like stressful that you have to make a decision. So make the decision, okay? And if you can't move forward, then cut your losses and get out of the no-win situation, okay? Mars in Capricorn doesn't want to have to quit something, but the moon may know that, maybe something's too expensive or not worth it. There might be a price to pay, okay? But get back to you. Things got out of balance. Let's get back to you. And remember, the freedom to get out of a situation is available. You just have to make the decision. You'll be able to try again later. So if the responsibility is too great to leave it, make peace with whatever decision it is that you need to make, okay? So on the 10th, which is Saturday the 10th, wrap things up. All right. And then I hope you get to sleep in a little bit, because the moon moves into Scorpio on Sunday the 11th. Water signs need more rest. So I hope that you get to mark your calendar for a little extra snoozing there on the 11th. Now, let's pull a couple cards, some theme cards for you for this big week ahead, all these kazimis. Okay, so there's an intensity there. I guess we're getting two from the Grim Tarot. Let's give you one from the Golden Art Nouveau. Oh, nope, it's going to be the Before Tarot. All right, let's see what it is. We have the Eight of Cups here from Grimm, and we see somebody walking away from something, okay? Classic Eight of Cups, walking away from something. Interesting. I'm trying to see if there's a path there. It's just seems like he's just taking a bend in the road there. So Eight of Cups, we're talking about making a decision. If you need to walk away from something, you just got to decide it. We also have the Six of Pentacles. This is one of the creepier cards in the deck. Six of Pentacles, which is usually about some kind of financial exchange. We see here that there's some kind of Halloween party going on. Okay. And they look intense, and there's just a lot of intensity. And Six of Pentacles is like everybody needs something. So make sure that you're not just making all your decisions out of other people's needs. Your third card is the Ace of Cups again. And I was going to pick from a different deck, but this one just like jumped out. So Ace of Cups showing up, there is satisfaction available to you. You just have to make some choices and make sure that you're not just doing everything because everybody else wants you to. All right, let's move into the next week, which is the week of January 12th through 18th. And we start off on the 12th with the moon in Scorpio. So there's an intensity here with the moon in Scorpio. You know, I already think of Capricorn season as intense in general because Capricorn is, you know, the authority. And I don't know, just think of it as like father energy, like almost like father knows best. And this is how we do it. These are the rules. And then you've got the moon in Scorpio, which is like psychic and intense and very detail orientated. So Monday the 12th, moon in Scorpio stays there until Tuesday the 13th. 6:34 p.m. is when it moves into the fun-loving sign of Sagittarius, fire sign. So we get a little bit more, I feel like lighter energy, but passionate energy, but a little bit less intense than Scorpio. Now, on the 14th, which is Wednesday, where the moon continues in Sagittarius, we have Venus sextile Saturn. And Venus sextile Saturn, we also have Mercury opposite Jupiter, so kind of reflecting yourself back at you. But Venus sextile Saturn is actually considered a positive aspect. You got a water sign and an earth sign, and that brings growth in. And let's see, I wrote down, you might need to revisit a decision made recently. And it might be like, really, do I need to do this? And Saturn brings in a lot of doubt. There's kind of like a conversation going on between the two planets. You may feel that you already made a decision. You may be reluctant to review the matter. You might have second thoughts or doubts, or you might say like, no, I'm not doing anything. You might feel like you're being seen as weak, but Venus is going to come in and kind of soften things up and make you a little bit more open, moving out of defensiveness, and you might be able to see what needs to transform in a situation. So take advantage of this opportunity to negotiate agreements there on the 14th. Now, the next day, Venus goes into a trine with Uranus on the 15th, Thursday, where the moon is continuing in the sign of Sagittarius. Disputes can be settled. Okay, so let's see. I wrote down Uranus is revolution and change, but when Venus is involved and Uranus is still retrograding, it can be positive when Venus is involved. So a dispute can be settled. Opposition joins your side. Things can work in your favor. And Venus in the sign of Capricorn, I think you could be really happy with how this can work out and just be thankful how it all happens. This is considered a positive aspect there on Thursday, the 15th. Now, the 16th, the moon will move into Capricorn. We're heading to a Capricorn new moon on Sunday, the 18th. So get your moon water out, right? Maybe start writing down your order to the universe. What would you like? Ask the universe. And it could be, I'd like to feel this way, or try to put it in positive statement. I like to write it down, put it under my jar of water, put it in the window, and let it charge up. I like to read my list of wishes or my order to the universe while I'm drinking my water, but do what you do. Okay, so the 16th, the moon moves into Capricorn in the morning. And then the 17th, Venus leaves the cardinal sign of Capricorn and enters the fixed sign of Aquarius. So Venus to Aquarius, January 17th through February 10th. Now, when Venus is in Aquarius, Aquarius is known to be social. Now, I know not every Aquarian likes people, and I've talked about how we sell a shirt in my store that says Aquarius, people person who dislikes people. And I really do think that sums up Aquarius a lot. But Aquarians are known for networking, for large groups of people. And these people, these friends, or these friends of friends can open up doors for you. So when you get invited to things, say yes. You can attract a new circle of admirers, new friends open doors. Take advantage of this social period starting on the 17th. Now, we're going into the new moon on the 18th. It peaks at 2:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Now, the new moon in general is the dark moon, right? There's no light. And Capricorn is the darkest part of the year. So this is a great time to kind of just like enter into the darkness. Drop out, turn the TV off, get off the internet, reconnect with yourself. I know it's freezing cold here in New England, but maybe you even just takes a nice nap. And even if it's just for today, take advantage of this disconnecting energy. Even though I just told you to connect to people, but on the 18th, just get some nice rest and recharging. It's the first new moon of the new year. It's a great time to set intentions, reflect on how far you've come. And this new moon is going to be conjunct together with Mars, Venus, and Pluto. So there's an intensity there, but just take some you time there. All right, let's pull some cards for this new moon week. Let's see what themes you've got going on. And let's see here. I was going to pick 3 cards. Is that what we're doing here? Yes, we're doing 3 cards. One from each of these decks. Let's see what we've got. From the Grimm Tales, we've got the High Priestess here. What a cool version of her. So she's Cancer energy ruled by the moon. She's the power of a woman when once upon a time we probably ruled the world and were actually respected. High Priestess, intuitive, feeler. 2 is relationship sign. Sometimes the High Priestess, like, she knows a lot, she feels a lot, but she doesn't always speak it. And it kind of reminds me of just kind of getting in, resting, having the inner conversation with yourself. You've got the 9 of Cups, which is the Make-A-Wish card. There he is pouring all the water into the cups, and you can see little kids in the background kind of peeking through, seeing what he's doing. So this is about making a wish, and you know that I always say, like, instead of making a wish on a new moon, I say place your order. So get together thinking about what it is that you'd like this new moon to bring you. And then we have the 4 of Wands here. And, usually we see these people leaving on what's probably their honeymoon. But here we see they look like they're working with some plants. There's some, maybe they're building this wreath. And so there's some action going on there, preparation, almost like for the party. Okay. So you've got 2 energy, which is relationship energy. You're really getting what you need. And there looks like there's some fun events going on in your life. So enjoy it. We're going to move into the week of January 19th through 25th, coming out of the new moon and heading into Aquarius season. Oh, we love Aquarius season. Okay, so on the 19th, a couple things happen here on the 19th. First of all, the sun moves into the fixed air sign of Aquarius. So it leaves behind Capricorn here on Martin Luther King Day, Monday the 19th at 8:45 p.m. Welcome to Aquarius season. I wrote down the world needs you to be your authentic self, and Aquarians are real good at that. They don't always need the opinion of others, and they bring in the new. It's funny because Aquarius' original ruler is Saturn. Saturn is all about the past, about the good old days and the history of it all, the antiques and all that kind of stuff. And then Aquarius's new ruler is Uranus, which is all about the future and about new ideas and new technology. So it's very interesting when you meet an Aquarian, if you get, sometimes they're the Saturn version, or sometimes they're the Uranus version, or sometimes they're a nice balance of both. Now, speaking of Saturn and Uranus, also on the 19th, Saturn is going to be sextile Uranus, which is considered a positive aspect. So I was thinking about the sextile, and it's like, yeah, you've got the past and then you've got the future. So roots in the past, but looking towards the future. Okay. This can bring a great amount of peace. And, sometimes when we think of the past, we think about all the things that we wish we had done differently. But guess what? That's not the way it went. And don't waste your time trying to change that, because that's just going to make you crazy. So just make peace. Okay. Those things in the past, but now I'm primed to move forward to the future. And this on the 19th is there to help you out. Now, lots of activity. I told you, this is a big month. I had a lot of printouts here. So January the 20th, Mars is trine Uranus. And Mars does a couple things. First, it trines Uranus. Now, Uranus accelerates anything that it's near. Okay, so you may have been striving for things and trying to work towards something, and things didn't always work out how you expected. Okay, but this is a time for you to try again. If something didn't work out before, maybe the proper support wasn't in place before, but now it is. And Mars in an earth sign, Mars in Capricorn, isn't going to be reckless or dependent. So this is a great time. It might not have worked before, but try again. Mars trine Uranus on January 20th. And then also on the 20th, Mars is going to make a sextile with Saturn. So Saturn's kind of directing the situation, because Saturn is kind of ahead of Mars. It's in the sign of Pisces. And Saturn likes to be in charge, and it likes to give directions. And Mars can be very assertive in the cardinal sign of Capricorn. The best way to make use of this sextile is to follow directions. Saturn likes that, wants to be by the book. Follow directions for timely success, and you can make the most of this positive aspect as Mars sextiles Saturn. Now, this is on the 20th, and the moon will be in Aquarius on the 20th. Now we move into the 22nd. Let's see. Now let's go into the 21st. So the moon moves into Pisces at 1:50 a.m. And then we've got all this activity happening with Mercury, the planet of communication. So on January 20th, Mercury moves into the air sign of Aquarius, the genius, forward-thinking, forward-moving sign of Aquarius, the unique sign. And it's going to stay there until February 6th. So this is a big deal there. Then Mercury on the 21st is going to be Cazimi. And we know what Cazimi means now. We talked about it before. In the heart of the sun. So Mercury will be at the same degree as the sun, and both in the sign of Aquarius. And this is said to be the big reveal. Okay. So let's see, what did I write down? Mercury likes to expose things and communicate and show things. Remember, Mercury is named after Hermes, and Hermes did all the footwork between the gods and the humans, and sometimes going into the underworld, and he's associated with buying and selling. That's why he rules merchants. And it's Cazimi. It's going to be seen in the heart of the sun. So one astrologer I was listening compared this to Toto revealing the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Okay, so the big reveal. Now, on the 22nd, Mercury is going to be conjunct Pluto, because remember, Pluto's hanging out in Aquarius. And so we're calling this the moment of truth. So you will see if your efforts are paying off. if you've been crossing your T's and dotting your I's like we've been telling you to, then it should pay off. And if you ignored the advice, then you're going to see. You'll see setbacks. You'll see losses. This is the moment of truth. It can be a harsh truth, but it can help you grow. Okay. Now, Pluto is considered the planet of growth and evolution. And sometimes it's going to, you might be kicking and screaming, but it's going to bring you into growth and evolution. Pluto and Jupiter are both judges. And I never thought of that. Pluto is the god of the underworld and he judges the dead. And Jupiter is considered higher law. It's justice in this world. And I guess Jupiter, Athena is his daughter, who's seen as the justice card. Okay, so there's a lot of themes about justice and a lot of themes about judging. And I think that you're going to be able to see during this week what's working, what's not working, and just be honest with yourself. And if it's not working, then, we're in Aquarius season. We'll make the choices to move into the future and make whatever changes we need to make. Now, the 22nd, the moon is continuing in the watery sign of Pisces. And on the 23rd, Mars, the planet of action, is going to move into Aquarius also. So we're starting to get a lot of planets there in Aquarius. Now, Mars is like, I want this energy. And Aquarius is said to have like a hard time relating to like somebody wanting something just for themselves, because Aquarius rules large groups of people. Aquarius is the humanitarian who wants the good for all. So it might, let's see what I write down. It might be like that energy of like, it doesn't taste good, but it's good for you. Reminds me of my mother giving me castor oil as a kid, right? Like, take this, it's going to be good for you, but it's going to taste disgusting. Discipline is for your own good, that kind of energy. And so there's a lot here about what is good for the collective good, what is good for all versus what you want. And you may feel a little bit of back and forth about that. The moon enters Aries on Friday, the 23rd, the fire sign of Aries, where we know Saturn and Neptune are just about to head there. And so we go into an Aries weekend on the 24th, although on the Sunday, the 25th, the moon will move into Taurus just a little bit after lunch. So a lot of full speed ahead energy with Aries energy. Aries is ruled by Mars, motivation, moving forward. But Taurus is all the beautiful things. So I really think Sunday afternoon could just be a really lovely time to enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, enjoy a good meal, and enjoy the week ending on Sunday, the 25th. Let's get you a couple cards, some theme cards for this week as we move into Aquarius season. So let's see what you need to know here. One from the Grim Tales Tarot, one from the Golden Art Nouveau, and one from the Before Tarot. And let's see what we've got here. All right, the Grim Tales. Oh, this is one of my favorite cards in this deck. The Fool and the Hermit were my favorite cards in this deck. Look at that Fool card. So she's got like this tree house up there. She's looking out over the world. And it feels so Aquarian to me, just like living your life the way that you want to, doing things differently. There's like this new, the Fool's usually like a new journey. It's interesting too. There's all like hand cursive writing in the background, which I don't know if you can see that in the camera. But because this is Grim Tales, and so those are all the storylines, okay? So she's kind of looking out at the world, deciding what's next in a very Aquarian lifestyle. The Empress is showing up. So you've got two major arcanas. Here's your Taurus energy. She's very pregnant, ready to give birth to a new version of herself. So two major arcanas, major secret of life cards. We know the moon ends the week in Taurus. There's a lot of beauty. You also get the Seven of Cups. And again, this is a Before Tarot. So he's got his eyes covered. The cups aren't even full of all the options yet. Very much in like a feeling stage, or daydreaming stage, and we know the moon's going to be in Pisces a lot this week. So pretty cool cards of the week ahead. And so just kind of, I don't know, get a feeling of gratitude in these cards. Being your unique self, knowing that you don't have it all figured out, but just kind of taking the baby steps. Remember, with these planets, like, we're moving into new territory, and we're going to go into times that, really in February, Pluto's going to move into, I think, 4 degrees of Aquarius by February 10th. It's new territory. We haven't been here in hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it's like 360 something years. So there's a lot of newness, and we don't know. And there's a lot of fear, but we need to stay grounded in ourselves and stay grateful for what we have. Even if what we have is a little bit unique or feels different than what other people have, it's okay. You're doing a good job. Stay grounded, stay focused, and stay grateful. Now, as we move into the final week of the month, which is January 26th through February 1st. Now, remember, this is a full moon week. We're heading to a Leo full moon. What a fun full moon it will be. And so as we move into the new week on the 26th, Monday the 26th, the moon continues to be in the sign of Taurus. And this is the first quarter moon. Okay, so the first quarter moon is going to start in the sign of Taurus. Well, the first quarter is when we start to build something. Okay, so this is a good time to stand your ground. What is it that you want? Taurus, don't mess with the Taurus. They're not going to budge for you. They know what they want. They know what's of value. So that's the kind of energy that's in the air here as this first quarter moon is building. Stand your ground, reach towards value and beauty. Now, also on the 26th, this is a big deal. This is when Neptune returns to the sign of Aries, where it's going to stay now. It's not going to go back into Pisces again in our lifetime. I mean, don't you think that's a big deal? I really do. So we've lived through a period of time that will never be repeated for like 164 years. So Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion. Neptune is called the great healer. Neptune is also associated with fogginess and creativity and karmic cycles and breaking karmic cycles. Neptune is associated with drugs and alcohol and anytime we try to numb ourselves out. Now, Neptune is going to move into the cardinal fire sign of Aries, and it's going to start on January 26th, and it stays there till March of 2039. I know that's hard to think about. Now, Aries is known as a sign of war. It's known as a sign of going after what it wants. And so we have to envision this period of fighting the good fight, but with a non-violent approach. Okay, that's not going to get us anywhere. Now, let's see. What did I write down about this? I said, the planets are most powerful when they enter a sign or leave a sign. Okay, so it just left Pisces and now it's at 0 degrees of Aries. So this is the most powerful time for this planet. Neptune glamorizes whatever sign it's in. So in Pisces, it was like, I have a dream. And in Aries, it's more like, all men are created equal kind of energy, and really trying to advocate for that and fight for that. So pivotal times here as Neptune moves into Aries. All of you Aries out there, you're going to have 2 heavy hitter planets moving into your sign, so things will not be dull. Now, speaking of not dull, on Tuesday, the 27th, the moon enters Gemini at 3:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is when Mars is conjunct Pluto. Mars, the planet of action, and I believe I've heard Sheila Haidt say that Mars is the cousin, I think it's cousin or little brother to Pluto. So they have some kind of relationship, right? Because Mars was the original ruler of Scorpio until Pluto was found. Then Pluto became the ruler of Scorpio. So they have some similarity there. Mars is the god of war. Pluto is Hades, god of the underworld. And so it can get intense. There they are together. Okay. And so they're in the sign of Aquarius. People, groups of people sign, groups, Mars wants to win. Okay. And so there's something here about sharing credit with other people. Okay. And maybe you don't think the other person brings enough to the table, or you don't really see what they bring. We know that the chart for the year ahead had a lot about working with others. So, and there's going to be a lot of these Mars Pluto conjunctions over the next 20 years. So we're going to have to start learning how to work with others, respecting what other people bring to the table and sharing the credit. Now, on the 28th, the moon continues in the playful, fun-loving sign of Gemini, a very social sign. So there's a lot of social energy this week, and being a little bit more careful on the 27th. But then as we move to the 29th, I would just mark your calendar for the 29th, because Mercury and Venus are going to be conjunct. So Mercury, social, right? Brings communication all over the place. Venus, harmony, balance, relationships. So this is charming. This is fun loving. This is easygoing. This is conversational. This is like no problem breaking the ice, talking to people. So make sure that, if you're single, I would go out and about that day. I would talk to people, just chit chat with people, just mingle. It's in the air, and it's already Aquarius season. Okay. And so enjoy the lovely energy there on the 29th. I think it will roll into the 30th also. The 30th, the moon will be in the sign of Cancer, nurturing, emotional, psychic energy. But remember, we're heading to a Leo full moon on the 1st. Now, Leo does rule dating in astrology. It rules the heart, it rules joy, and it has a lot to do with dating. So take advantage of this week if that is what you're looking for in your life. So the moon will be in Cancer on Saturday, the 31st. Harmony, nurturing, go out, maybe have a nice meal. The picture I put up is two people having coffee next to each other. Maybe they just met. And so kind of get out into those kind of scenes where, maybe you sit at a bar or you sit somewhere where you can just chat with somebody. And then we go into this full fire moon. So things are feisty, things are spicy. We've got 2 planets in Aries. We've got the moon in a fire sign of Leo. And do we have anything in Sagittarius? I don't think so. But there's a lot of spice there this week, okay? So enjoy the spice. Use it for your benefit. Keep in mind that things do get emotional and intense in a full moon, especially a fire full moon. Get your moon water ready and enjoy the beautiful, beautiful Leo full moon there. All right, let's see what your cards are, what you need to know here this final week of January. I've got 3 cards here for you. Let me just get one from the Grim Tales. Okay, so your first card is the Hermit from the before. So I know that snake becomes his staff after he puts that star into his lantern. So this is Virgo energy. This was the card of the year in 2025. Okay, so a lot of what you've learned through 2025 becomes your guide moving forward here in 2026. You have the 3 of Pentacles, which is often called the architect card, something being built, something of value. It almost looks like they're at a museum and looking around. Great social experience. And the World card. So great card of success and completion, closure, Capricorn card. Looks like she has the world just all around her head. Okay, so this is a success card. So I think you got some really great cards this week. I would get out and about, even if you have to go alone, the Hermit. Okay. Make sure you're, obviously be safe, but be social. See things, chat with people, say hello. So many people that are just dying to talk to you because, COVID did a number on us and our social skills. So don't be afraid to get out and about, even if it's by yourself, and enjoy just the chit chat and the social interaction with others, remembering that others can open up many doors for you this year. In general, with a Libra rising and a Gemini moon for the new year, but especially with Venus hanging out in the sign of Aquarius, which was from January 17th to February 10th. So I hope you benefited from this video. Please comment. Please tell me stuff because sometimes I just wonder who's listening. If you haven't already liked and followed me, please do. It really helps. And let me know what you are looking for more of. Okay. I'll be coming out soon with some love readings for the month of February, and I'll see you soon.